Christian Bowie is known to fans as the Prince of Poetry. When he's not giving financial advice during the day, he's talking about emotional wealth on stage as the founder of Hot Chocolate Poetry Incorporated. Christian, but you'd rather be called the Prince of Poetry, right?
That's right.
At least for
At least
today,
what we're talking about,
right. For today. What inspires you and where do you write?
Yeah. So my biggest inspiration with anything that I write is love. I focus primarily on self-love, teaching individuals to look inside themselves and love what they see, regardless of where they come from or regardless of what they've been through. The other side of that is love towards your neighbor. So individuals who are also going through some of the same traumas and generational curses, I find a lot of my motivation in that. Yeah. And then the goal is to put together something that's going to give people an opportunity to reflect a little bit differently on the way they see life and specifically the way they see themselves.
Now, this isn't your first rodeo. You've been doing this for quite a while, at least, what, 17 years?
17 years as a spoken word artist, yeah. So full-time for the last 4 years, but performing on stages for 15 years.
Now, you also rap. Right?
I do. So that's where I got my initial inspiration from hip hop. And so the reason that I stepped over into spoken word, though, was because hip hop kind of confines you to a beat.
Okay.
Right, and kind of keep with the cadence, but spoken word allows you to be so much more expressive.
But you do have a beat or a cadence with the spoken word too, though.
There's a cadence, but it's not necessarily controlled by the beat or the music. So if I want to slow down on a certain part, I can slow way down.
Right.
If I want to connect to the audience a different way, if I want to repeat the words over and over again, I can do that. And depending on my audience, it allows for more flexibility.
Now, we were talking about where you write. You say just anywhere, right?
Yeah, wherever the inspiration hits me. Typically, I do most of my writing at home. But if I'm on the road and something inspires me, I'll pull over and I'll go right into my phone and start writing a piece. In fact, the poem Cry King, which is one of my most famous poems, I actually wrote while I was in the car, while I was dealing with something in that moment. And so that piece just came to me right then and there, and I started writing.
Does that help you to deal with things better by letting it all out like that?
Absolutely. Suppression obviously is a slow killer for most of us. When we hold things inside and we don't express them, it absolutely hurts us. So being expressive and being direct about what I'm feeling and expressing it in front of other people, there's a lot of healing in that.
So do you like the spoken word more than rapping or equal?
I think they both serve a phenomenal purpose. Spoken word is my lane, but hip hop and rapping has done some very similar healing in a lot of our communities. So I like them both.
And you do a lot of mentorship, which is interesting.
I do.
Yeah.
So Hot Chocolate Poetry is an organization that I started 4 years ago that now focuses primarily on philanthropic work. So we do a lot of back to school events for children and then also training other spoken word artists and musicians to use their gift to heal the world as well. So yeah, a lot of training and mentoring.
Who's your favorite spoken word artist?
Man, locally, it's K-Love and Geronimo Speaks. Those are two very heavy names in Chicago, both doing amazing things with spoken word and really healing the world. So yeah, definitely rocking with them.
Okay, so what are you going to do for us today?
So today, I'm doing a poem that I wrote called Cry King. It specifically touches on...
That's when you did, when you were in your car.
That was in my car, right? So I get a chance to let everybody hear that. That piece I wrote because I believe that as men, we've been taught to suppress what we feel. And that crying is a sign of weakness. But despite that belief, crying is actually one of the quickest ways to heal because it releases the toxins out of the body. And those toxins that we keep inside the body obviously can lead to depression. It could even lead to, in some cases, as far as suicide. So allowing yourself to cry and being connected to what you feel is one of the strongest things that we can do. And that's the piece I'm going to share with you today.
All right, take it away.
Sounds good.
All right. Don't fall off the stage.
That's right. I'm working on that.
All right.
I sometimes wonder why. I've been told I shouldn't cry. My whole life, this alpha male mentality has surrounded me and kept my pupils dry. I mean, I don't even watch some of my people die. And I've battled with my conscience, and I've had internal arguments if any water would hit my eyes, and yeah, I still hurt inside. But you know pride, it'll make you lie. I can remember hearing the wails of my own hurting mother, but my own tears I couldn't discover. I guess you could say bounty sheets have been slipped under my eye sockets and kept them covered because if any water leaks out, my pride be there like the quicker, picker, upper, and I recover by standing tall, flexing and all. I can't let my stature fall. Water has to just bounce off this wall. I don't watch brothers get buried, and I know kings to this day who wouldn't even tear up. Like God didn't give him tear ducts. Like he somehow slipped up when he constructed us. This crushed us, broken us, malfunctioning us. I done heard conversations be like, hey, King, Slow up. Let me help you to grow up. So what? You say you're hurting and you crying? For what purpose? You got water, work's working. It's better if they never surface. Keep the pain to yourself. Ain't you a man? Can't you stand? Be strong for your fam? Then you better hold the water back like damn. But I can only be as strong as I am. Prince, are you strong? I am. Then you better not cry, brother. I know it hurts, but a real man's got to remember his worth. But that makes it worse because now I find myself questioning their words like, but didn't God water the earth to make its fruitage grow, allowing first sprouts to show? Or no? My brothers, stay tough. Meanwhile, they getting hit with the hardest hits. Do you know why he looks so hard? Because that's a face he ain't watered yet. He will let his skin crack before he lets the water in. But what have you ever seen grow without consistent water in? I'm imploring my brothers to start exploring the purpose of your eyes. They're not just for seeing or for blinking or for closing when you're sleeping. My brothers will swear on a stack of Bibles they love Jesus, but they won't imitate his weeping. It's like they think God is a weakling, and your manhood would be weakened if you cried on one weekend, but what are you really thinking? That there's no healing power in tears? That as a real man, you can't reveal what you feel when that pain comes near? That you're somehow stronger for prolonging your moment of expression? You don't see being able to cry as a blessing? Have you ever heard a father threaten his son for crying when he's hurt? Yelling and telling him that if he cries, he'll hit him. So now his son's got to grow up being a victim for having feelings. But imagine a world where our young kings could actually reveal what they're feeling. And when he sees the tears you're spilling, you could help heal him. Have him no longer believe in having feelings would kill him because that thinking is so absent of God, who you're telling him to be, ain't even the real him. We have to stop teaching our sons that tears are venom because that thinking even impacts the way they treat women. And we all talk about healing. Well, healing can only begin once you acknowledge a hurt feeling. Once you release all the toxins and let go of all that nonsense that's been fed to your subconscious because it's only created enmity. Your fake manhood has become your enemy. You're just pretending, B. I guess that's why they call it masculinity. You see, it's time for a change, not more of the same. Our kings need to heal, and the crown will fit better when you're sane. And although it sounds insane to use tears as a way to release your pain, we have to remember that God's promise of that beautiful bow will only show after it rains. Go ahead and cry, King.